back in 2020, I was in a porn addiction and I had no idea how to deal with this problem at all. I was living out here in the Algarve in Portugal, and I remember this one day in particular where I'd like wake up and I'd proceed to do about an hour workout every morning in this little apartment. I'd be doing these push-ups and I'd get to like around like 300 or 400 push-ups, honestly. Like, it was no joke. I'd do like 10 sets of 30, and then it'd be like a plank workout. I'd been down there, be down on these like tiled floors for like 20 to 30 minutes, just like in this plank, like listening to David Goggins and self-improvement and like motivational sort of content. Then usually I'd go to like the beach, read some more self-improvement books for a while, do some work. So I had a totally different online business back then. And then like eventually I'm just like full of all this desire still. There's a good quote: what you resist persists. Like, I'm just trying to distract, avoid, substitute out this desire in one way or another. Eventually I end up back at porn. And I actually remember this one day in that apartment in particular where I was on this porn site and I was literally looking at stuff which was like curated to try and like hypnotize your brain into getting more addicted to porn. It was pretty like messed up stuff, to be honest with you. Anyway, I remember like just being a complete mess and feeling like a zombie. I was in a really bad mental state, and there was this wine bottle in the kitchen. I don't know whether I'd bought it or whether it just been like left there as like as kind of a thing for the apartment. Can't really remember why I had this wine bottle, but I just really vividly remember smashing this wine bottle like by mistake. I must have been cooking or something in the kitchen, and my memory's still a bit foggy, but what I do remember is this wine bottle smashing and there just being like shards of glass on the floor, and there's this like tiled floor, and I was just picking up this glass and all the wine was there as well, and I was just like, wow, like how have I ended up here? Like, I'm in one of the most beautiful parts of the world. I've got an online business, I'm making good money back then. Life seemed to be pretty good in many ways. Like, I kind of had improved my life in so many ways, had all this freedom, had so much to be grateful for, you know, good parents, good family, really great friends, you know, like still friends with my friends to this day, you know, from like 10-15 years ago, like they're like my brothers. So, you know, I got all this good stuff going for me, and yet I'm a mess picking up shards of glass off the floor from this bottle that I've knocked over because I'm walking around like a zombie, because I'm so deep into an addiction that I'm watching content specifically designed to try and make your brain even more addicted. It's like this hypnosis kind of content. Like what went wrong? Like, how did I end up there? And you know, the thing is, I don't even need to go back in time and discover like exactly what led to me looking at that content, because all I know is I was in an addiction, and there's a tolerance cycle when you're in addiction, and you just want forever more and more content to stimulate you and sort of satiate that desire. But the truth is, it never does satiate the desire. Just you act on that desire and it just leads to more and more and more, and you can end down that rabbit hole just seeking more and more content, and that's never going to stop. It's just how addiction works. Years and years go by, gets to 2023, and finally I find someone who's actually got some decent advice on overcoming porn addiction. That woman, of course, was Mary Paulus, who later became my business partner, because I was like, yeah, this actually works. Like, this actually makes sense. It's actually rational. It's not about motivation. It's not about self-improvement. It's not about all these different random things that have nothing to do with that one moment where you're just like, fuck it, like, I just want to do this thing. Like, I just want to watch porn. In that moment, what do? That's the only problem you need to solve, is in that moment, what do you do? Because think about it, if you knew exactly how to deal with urges at all times, you wouldn't be on this hamster wheel, this treadmill of trying to stay busy and activated and doing all these different things, because you just know how to deal with urges. And now I'm in Portugal, I'm hearing a bit of Mamma Mia in the background. I don't know if you can hear that on the phone, but I'm enjoying it myself, and life is bloody fantastic, I must say. Today's probably been one of the best days I've ever had, like, in my whole life. Like, I woke up, I had the most amazing meal for breakfast. It was like a buffet meal here at the hotel. I had like 4 courses of good, like, just nutritious food, and I was really surprised and impressed by the breakfast they had on. And then I went off and spent about half an hour just on my own, just in the sauna, just sort of connecting to myself and thinking about things and detaching from my ego in a way, because I was having some pretty crazy thoughts in there. I enjoyed that. And then it was quite funny because they have like a shuttle bus from the hotel down to the beach. And I go up to reception, these 3 women on reception, and I say to them, hey, is that like shuttle bus running, or do I need to book it or something? And they're like, yeah, it's going at 11. I'm like, well, what time is it now? And they're like, yeah, it's 11. So I'm like, all right, well, can you give me 2 minutes? And they're like, is it actually going to be 2 minutes though? And I'm like, yeah, don't worry about me, it'll be 2 minutes, all right. I go up to the hotel room, I get changed, probably took me 3 or 4 minutes to be fair, but it's all good. I come running downstairs, I run out of the glass doors of this like hotel, like these 3 women on reception watching me go out the glass doors right in front of them. I'm in the car park, they're still watching me. I'm looking around, I'm like, where's the shuttle bus? There's no shuttle bus. And then I just see, wait, hang on, these 3 women are still laughing at me from reception. So I go back in and they're like, yeah, like I'm the one driving. Like one of the women was the ones driving, like she was waiting for me. Like all I had to do was go and speak to reception, and then she was going to drive me down. So they were all kind of taking the piss, and it was pretty funny because yeah, I'd be laughing if I were them. Anyway, go down to the beach, have a good time, go for a long walk, end up buying this little selfie stick here that we got for €9, so that was fun. And then got a lift back to the apartment. That was an interesting ride home. It was definitely an interesting conversation with the woman driving me home. It was good. Yeah, she was from Brazil, and you know she'd ended up here. But yeah, it was an interesting conversation. And then yeah, now I'm just back in my room, to be honest. But I guess that's not really that useful, is it? Just talking about my day. So I'll give you some information which could hopefully be useful, right? I think the number one thing, if you want to overcome porn addiction, is to understand how your own brain works. Understand the beliefs, the thoughts, in particular the junky thoughts which are going on, and then get really, really clear on exactly what you're going to do the next time you have an urge, because you want to get into a mindset where you shift it from being reactive to proactive. You want to shift everything from being defensive, you know, helpless, like blockers, removing triggers and streaks, all this bullshit, and just get really, really like attacking. Like, actually, I'm going to get after the addictive part of the mind by understanding it and then outsmarting it. So a few examples of this. Had a client message me today, and he's talking about, what do I do in the future? Because it feels like these urges are going to be here forever. It's been really uncomfortable the last 9 days. Like, what am I going to do? And it's just about understanding addiction and understanding the addictive part of the mind, and seeing how, if you're thinking into the future, really what's going on is you're just wanting to engage in your compulsive behaviour right now. And the sort of strategies and tricks the addictive part of the mind will use can often be about the past and about the future, but the reality is, in the present moment, that's where your power is, that's where you have a choice. And so I said to him, well, first of all, read your scripts, because he has a very prepared script which enables him to actually think through the choice in the present moment. But I also added a bit more depth to my answer to him. You know, I said to him, well, look, the truth is, if you relapse, it's going to be a lot more difficult in the future. So he was on about, well, how am I going to feel in like 3 months, 12 months? But the truth is, people only have those fears because they've probably never actually got to 3 months or 12 months. You know, I'm sitting here, it's probably around 12 months. I don't count a streak or any shit like that. In fact, to be truly honest, I know it's not 12 months, it's about 11 months. I say about 11 months, it is 11 months. I hate how I know, but I know because I know the date that I last chose to engage. It was May 23rd, 2024. So yeah, it's nearly a year, right? And I don't like talking about streaks because it's so far away from this right here. This is the moment, this is the choice. Like, this client talking to me on 9 days has just as much power in this moment right now to think through his choice and think rationally as me on 300 and whatever. It makes no difference, because right now is all we have, right? Right now is all we have. Like, it's the same for you. Like, it's the same for anyone watching this. There's just as much chance as me going and watching porn now as someone who has the same level of thinking as my mind if he's on like day one. Because once you have the education and you understand the addictive part of the mind inside and out, all these strategies, tactics, you can outsmart it with the truth, you're going to be good. So going back to this future thinking kind of thought, well, essentially the truth is that if you act on the desire, if you were to relapse, if you were to engage one time, that's actually what puts you back in the addiction and creates more desire. So it's this weird paradox where actually it's going without acting on the desire, you know, for prolonged periods of time, and changing the neural pathways correctly, thinking it through, realizing you have a choice, and doing that without any willpower and without getting all stuck in these feelings of deprivation, feeling like you can't do it because it is a choice. You know, you do that for a prolonged period of time, what happens? The brain starts to change, you start to feel pretty empowered, and you actually have less and less desires. You're not going to be experiencing desires all the time in months and months down the line, because you would have conditioned your brain, if you're thinking it through with a script, to realize that actually porn equals basically disaster and more desire, and if I choose to abstain from porn, it equals really good life and less desire. So time just goes on, and you're not going to have the same level of desires at day 9 as you will at day 300 and whatever. Not that the days particularly matter, because the process is what matters a lot more than the results. But hopefully that gives you some insights. Thank you so much for watching. I'm having a good time here in the Algarve in Portugal. I'm going to continue my holiday. See you in the next video. Bye bye.